Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Stamping with Donna. Today I'm going to show you what I like to call one card three ways. Basically, what we do is we take one card and then we make it a little bit more intricate and then a little bit more intricate from there. So the card we're going to be making today that we're going to be basing it off of is this card here. You can see that it uses the Jar of Flowers stamp set. Let me tell you a little bit about that stamp set. So that stamp set is right here. And it's a great stamp. That's a lot more than 9 stamps. So they did something really interesting. These are reversible stamps. So this one here and this one here are the same stamp. Not the same stamp set, but the same stamp. This is one side of the stamp, this is the other. You can use them both. Same with the small jars, same with the stripes or line. And those are all on one stamp. And then there's 4 different flower sets you can see here. It's kind of, I look at it as an all-season flower set because this one here with the roses looks to me like summer. This one here with the tulips looks to me like spring. The sunflowers are fall, and then this one can be used at any time. It also comes with stems, which you can use on any of the flower sets. And then, like I said, these 2 lines here. I spent the longest time trying to figure out what those were for, and then I decided you could use them as backgrounds, you could use them as stripes or as diagonals, you can use them as plaid, or you can use them as a shelf. And I made a shelf on one of my cards, which I will show you a little bit later. The stamp set Jar of Flowers is only $23, and it includes all of these stamps, so it's really a great set. And it also comes with a coordinating punch, which punches out the jars, the lid, the little jars. These little jars, by the way, can be used as little jars. This one also can be used as water to fill up this jar. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this. Now, obviously, most people will use this to create a jar that has flowers in it. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. If you follow me, you know that I like to highlight one stamp set each month. And the reason I do that is because I want to show the versatility in stamp sets. So this month, August of 2020, we are highlighting Jar of Flowers. But the first cards I'm going to show you don't even use the jars. They just use the flowers. That's going to show you can do a lot of different things with this set. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to make the first card, which is a little bit more simple. I like to call it a special card because it's really beautiful, and anyone who gets it would be more than happy to get it and would be thrilled, and you'd be proud to give it to them. So first, I've gone ahead and I've cut up all of the papers that we are going to be using for this already. And the reason I did that is you don't have to sit here and watch me cut. That's not something you need to watch. So I've gone ahead and pre-cut everything that we're going to use. And by the way, I'm not going to go ahead and talk mostly about the measurements. Those you'll find on my blog post, or right underneath here, you can go to stampingfunwithdonna.com and you can see all of the measurements and colors and everything like that that we have used. So first we're going to take a sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch Whisper White cardstock, just a regular white cardstock, and we're going to cut it in half, just like normal, and then we're going to go ahead and fold it into half, and then you will see that you have a perfectly sized card. I'm going to go ahead and just crease the edge with my bone folder. It just makes a better edge. It's not necessary, but it's a helpful step. Okay, so here we have our card base. The next part we have is the Night of Navy. And what we're going to do with this is I'm just going to go ahead and take my liquid glue and just spread it on along the back of this so that we can go ahead and put it on. Liquid glue holds really well and it's very easy. And the reason I'm using it for this project today, as you will see, is that you can sort of move things into place if you don't have them exactly right at first. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right in the center like that, and you can see I already smooched it a little bit over when I didn't like where it was, and just place it on and rub it in for a second, and you've got your card base. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the flowers. I have a little piece of Whisper White here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our flowers. We're going to be using today the one that has the I think those are roses. I'm not exactly sure what those types of flowers are. And I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and color it up with the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which works really well with the Stampin' Blends, which we are using today. So that works really well together. Now when I have a larger stamp like this, I like to go ahead and to ink it up upside down so that I can see what I'm doing. And I can go ahead and ink up the entire stamp and just check and make sure that there is a little bit of ink everywhere. Good. And then I can go ahead and close the memento and stick it aside. So I will take the stamp, turn it over, center it in the middle of this white piece of paper, and then just push it down for just a couple of seconds. What you want to do is rub it. You want to let it sit there for a few seconds. You want the ink to be able to absorb into the paper. And now I'm just going to peel that away. And we have a beautiful inked image. Okay, so next what we're going to be doing is coloring it. Today we're going to be using the stamping blends. I don't know if you have used these. These are awesome. They really do a great job of coloring and blending, stamping blends. They are alcohol-based markers, and so they blend extremely well, much better than other types of markers. We're going to start with the light Daffodil Delight. Now every one of these markers comes in a set. So you get the dark and the light together, and you can blend them together. And each side has a larger side, a brush side, and a smaller side, a bullet side. So with this, what we're going to do is start with the bullet side and the light. Now you can start with the light or the dark, whichever you prefer. It really doesn't matter. I usually like to start with the light. I just like doing it that way, but sometimes I'll start with the dark. It just depends on what you want. And what we're going to be going for here is to color in all of these flowers and then get some beautiful shading on it. So you don't want to get too close to the edges when you're using these because they do bleed a little bit, so that they fill in a little bit of spots, and we're going to go back over them anyway. So you just want to get a little bit away from the edge. I usually use a circle motion. You can do whatever you want to fill it in. I also like to leave a little bit of white. I like to have a little bit of different shading. Now we're going to take the dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use the bullet end. And all I'm going to do is just go around some of these edges like this to sort of fill it in with a little bit of shading. Now you can do whatever you want, and I'm going to show you later. I've done each of these groups a little bit differently. So you'll see some different ways you can fill in. Sometimes I like to fill in down here, get a little bit more shading down there. And don't worry that it looks like there's lines all over it, because we're going to be taking care of that in a few minutes. I don't like to start from scratch. The Stampin' Up artists are so much better at art than I am. So I'm just following their lines. I figure where they have the lines is where I want to do it and make it darker. And then I like to fill in the centers. Okay, so it's looking okay right now, but it's looking a little bit not so great also. So now I'm going to take the light Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to take the bullet end, and I'm just going to do little circles all around where I had put the dark. And what that does is that's blending it, because like I said, since they are alcohol markers, they actually blend extremely well. And you end up with an absolutely beautiful shaded image. You can do this, as I said, any way you want. One of the ones that I did this with, I made the flower itself darker and then shaded it with the lighter. You can start with the dark, you can start with the light, you can do whichever you want, and you can do it over and over and over. So we are almost done with this, and now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take the dark and see if maybe we want a little bit more shading a few places. Like maybe we'll make this a little bit more shaded, make this one a little bit more shaded. All I'm trying to do is add some depth and dimension into the card and into the flower. So one more time, take the light and the bullet end and just do a little bit more shading right where I just put some more of the dark. I also, as I said, like to have the darker center. You can do this any way you want, and so don't feel like you have to do it the same way I'm doing it. Okay, so that yellow flower is beautiful, and I like the fact that that's a little bit lighter too. Like I said, it just adds more depth and dimension to it. Now I'm going to take the Rococo Rose, the light, and I'm going to start with these flowers over here. And this time I'm using the bullet point because, as you can see, this is a smaller flower. You want to have enough room to be able to do the blending, so you don't want to use a large brush with a smaller flower. And now we will take the dark, and again I will take the bullet point. I'm going to show you here in case you didn't notice before. This has a smaller line and the bullet point, and this has the longer line and the brush. And that's how you know which side is which before you open them up. Otherwise, I can tell you that you will open up the wrong end every time, at least I do. So I like to take a quick peek before I open them. Now I'm going to take the light Rococo Rose again and the bullet point and just shade it in. For this flower, I just like to just do the edges like this. And then maybe, you can see it's a little bit darker now, it's going to lighten up. And then I like to take the darker and just do maybe right along the top somewhere. Depending on, I like to do them all differently, so get some different ones in there. And then one more time, I think I'm just going to shade this one with the brush side with the light just to get a little bit more shaded. And just shade it in, and good. The flowers are done. Okay, if you want to add a little bit more, you can add a little bit more, and it will lighten up as it dries. Now we're going to go on to the green. I have here the Mossy Meadow, but any green would work for this. Granny Apple green is a good one. Old Olive is a good one. Mossy Meadow is a little bit darker, but I use the light side for the leaves, and I think it makes a beautiful leaf. So any of these would work. I'm also going to go ahead and color in these, whatever kind of plant this is, with a little bit of the Mossy Meadow, and then the leaves over here. And with this one, because these are all small, I'm pretty much just using the bullet point. Here I could use the brush side if I wanted to on here, but I kind of like it with the lines like that and a little bit of white and not too solid. Oh, I have these little leaves over here as well. So we'll get those colored in for just a second. Okay, and now for these other flowers, I don't know what these are. If anyone knows what they are, just go ahead and leave a comment and let me know. I've only ever seen them in blue. So I'm going to go ahead and use the pretty peacock in the light, and I'm going to use just the bullet point and just color in these little things here. These are pretty flowers, or plants, I guess. I don't think that they have any flowers on them, but I don't know for sure. And then I'm going to fill in these. You could fill in these with red. You could fill in these with any color that you want. If you're just getting started with the stamping blends, though, I definitely would suggest getting a yellow, a green, and a pink, because I think those are sort of the most ones that you can do the most with and that the most common. And so I would suggest that as sort of the starter pack. Any of the pinks that you like, any of the greens that you like, and any of the yellows that you like. I have a soft spot in my heart for this Daffodil Delight, but you can use any one. And something I did not do yet, but I'm going to do now, is to use the light Mossy Meadow to just fill in these stems and along the bottoms of the flower. Just make it more flower-like, because those flowers would have some green on them. Okay, so now we've got this beautiful stamped image that we are going to add to our card. So what we are going to do is we're going to take the yellow piece of paper, the Daffodil Delight piece of paper, and we're just going to go ahead and glue on this stamped and colored image. Oh, so do you see here how the Stampin' Blends go through the paper and on the other side? It's okay, it's supposed to. It will always do that. So if you're going to be layering it on something, it's perfectly fine. If you're not going to be layering it on something and you want it to show, just know that it will show. Sometimes people like the effects of it and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it just depends on what the project is. So I'm going to go ahead and, whoa, just like I said, if you don't get it in the right spot or if you drop it, you can always reposition it when you use that. Okay, so that's all set. I'm just going to clean up that glue for just a second. It's on my fingers now, but that's okay. It won't stay for long. So now we've got this all set. And what we are going to do is to go ahead and just put it onto the back of that. I don't like to do it on top of it because sometimes I do get messy. So I'd rather just do it separately and then add it. So again, I'm going to add it with this glue, with the liquid glue. This is our liquid glue, multi-purpose glue. Okay, now I'm going to pick this up, place the card down, and put it a little bit towards the top because we're going to be adding a sentiment on the bottom. Now something you may, and just hold it down for just a second, it'll adhere very well. Something you may have noticed is that Jar of Flowers did not come with any sentiments. So what you will want to do is just use a sentiment from another set that you have. Okay, so I have taken this I Miss You, but this card you can use for I Miss You, you can use it for Happy Birthday, you can use it for sympathy, you can use it for just about anything. Congratulations. I don't know, anything that wouldn't look good with this card. And I'm just going to ink it up with our Tuxedo Black Memento and take just any scrap of paper. Always save your scraps. Scraps can do so much for you, and you don't have to use full sheets of paper. And just let it sink into the paper for just a second, and beautiful. That's a beautiful sentiment. Now, I just took a punch. You can take any punch, you can take any die cut, whatever fits the sentiment that you're using. This is just one of our Stampin' Up punches. I like to turn it upside down so that you can see where it is and make sure you have it straight and in the right spot. And I think that's more straight. And then just pop it out. So now we have this I miss you. What I'm going to do to adhere the I miss you, is to use these glue dots. Because these mini glue dots, they're amazing. When they first came out, it must have been like 2006, 2005, somewhere around there. I was like, I don't need another type of glue, but I love these. You just stick it on and it transfers to the paper. It's on a waxy paper on this roll, and you just keep it on the roll, and they're individual dots. Oh, I missed one here. And then you just stick it on and just pull it off. And now there's a very small dot, and there's no glue is going to go anywhere because it's just this glue dot, and it holds very well. So I'm going to place it here along the bottom of the card, and I think I did that a little bit wonky, so I can take it off and reposition it just for a second. Okay, one more time. That one's just, there we go. There we go. And then we have this beautiful card, a special card that you can give to anybody for any reason or for any occasion. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and make it just a little bit more special by adding a little bit more to it. Maybe you have a little bit more time, you have a little bit more supplies, you have a little bit more experience, and you want to do a little bit something extra. So I'm going to put my black ink away before I go any further because I will make a mess. I always get messy doing this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make it just a little bit more. What I did for this, in order for us not to have to sit here all day and watch me do this, is I already stamped and colored the parts that I've shown you. So I have a card here that I've already stamped and colored in, and you can see the shading's very different. And I have an I miss you as well. And then I'm going to show you the things that we are going to do differently, but not the things that we are going to do the same. So let's go ahead and just make this into a card. Again, this is just a half sheet of Whisper White, and I just fold it in half and use my bone folder to get it in the crease nice and well done. Okay, so now what we're going to do this time is add a little bit of background to this blue piece. One of my favorite ways of doing tone on tone is to use the Versamark. So I don't know if you guys have the Versamark or have used it. It is very versatile, which may be why it's called the Versamark, and it does a lot of great things. One of the things it does is it creates sort of a watermark issue. It just makes a little bit darker color of whatever you have. So if you don't have a blue that you want to put on here, a blue ink that you can use for this, or you can go ahead and use the Versamark, and I will show you that you just stamp, rub it around, let it sink in for a minute or two, take it off, and hopefully you can see that. It's just a beautiful, lightly darker color, it's slightly darker color on there. And then all you do is you just take this is the same flower we used to color in, and I'm just using it with the Versamark around the edges. So you can see there, it's beautiful. And again, I'm just going to ink it up. I like to stamp not straight, and I like to stamp sort of different ways and different dimensions and turn it upside down. Like right here, I'm turning it the other direction. And I like to stamp it off the page. You can do it any way you want. This is just my personal preference, and it's a great way to create all sorts of interesting backgrounds that coordinate with your card because it's the same stamp set, right? Or you could use even something different on the bottom here, but I'm just trying to create a little bit of interest to this blue sheet. We don't see much of it. We only see the edges, which is why I'm leaving the middle part of it completely blank, because you're not going to see that anyway. So there's no sense in going ahead and stamping it. Okay, let me do one here on this corner. And then I think we have one more. And then we'll go around and just make sure we didn't miss any spots around the edges. Ah, beautiful. Okay, so you can see there's a one spot here that you want to do. So I'm just going to ink up the edge not the entire thing. And I'm going to turn it. And because these are photopolymer stamps, you can see right through. You can see exactly where you're placing it and place it exactly where you want to. And you can even see that the color changes on there, so I know that the ink has transferred. And there you go. And then there's one spot here and maybe a little bit there. I'm not sure about that yet. So let's go ahead and just ink up that corner again. Again, place it right here, watching the ink transfer onto the page. And that one's filled in. And I think I'm going to try. It's not an easy one to do there, but we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can do it a little bit this way. Just press right on and just a little bit right there. And I think that will take care of it all. Okay, beautiful. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this blue sheet that has all those beautiful flowers. Hopefully you can see that very well in the picture. And we're going to use our liquid glue. And we're just going to put it around the back just like we did before. Making sure to get close to the edges but not too close, because you want obviously the edges to be there, but you don't want to have any of the glue seeping out. Although if it does, you can always just wipe it off. All right, and then I'm going to place this in the middle. Just like so, and now we have our background card. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the flowers that I've already done for you, colored in for you, and we're actually going to cut them out. So this doesn't have a die set or a punch, so we're going to fussy cut around the edges like this. But it really doesn't take long at all. It's very, very quick. You can leave some white. First of all, it's going to be popped up and you're not really going to see the white. And second of all, white kind of looks good. It's kind of got that retro look of like when there used to be the old photographs and they had a little bit of white around the outside. So I don't mind at all leaving some of the white. In fact, I think it looks better that way. But if you want to get right up on the edges, you can do that. It's your creation and you can do whatever it is that you want with it. So if you remember back to kindergarten when we learned how to cut, I think most of us have forgotten in the meantime, but what you do is you sort of turn the paper and you don't turn the scissors. So you see how I'm turning the paper and allowing the scissors to get right in there while leaving the scissors pretty much solidly in the same spot. Okay, and I've just got a little bit more around here. You can see I don't go all the way in where the flowers are. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's can be frustrating and it can take a really long time. So when there's little pieces like this, I'll go in like that and come back out, but I won't try to get every piece of white away in order to do that. Okay, so I'm almost done here. You can see it only took a couple of minutes, not very long at all, to fussy cut all the way around this entire thing. And when you get to the end, you always want to make sure that there isn't a sharp edge, but it's rounded. There we go. So now we have this beautiful piece cut out. And what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and put it onto the yellow sheet. So what we're going to do here is just, what do I want to do with this? I think I want to actually pop it up with our Stampin' Dimensionals. So our Stampin' Dimensionals, of course, I'm sure you know, are pop-up dots that you put on papers. And then we go ahead and take, there's a piece of, oh, this one, the paper didn't come off the other side. So it came right off. You just take them off the sheets that you get, and then you just place them on, and then you just pop the top off. And this is a piece of paper as well. And it's just to keep it so that until you're ready, it's not sticky. That's my take your pick tool that I use to take it off with. And I'm going to, I forgot the white piece. Let me go ahead and get that white piece. Where'd that little white piece go? I had them all here when I got started with this one. Okay, it looks like I have misplaced my little white piece. Let me just stick this down for just a second. And I'm going to just very quickly cut this one again because I really don't see it. I was sure I had it with me. But let me just go ahead and I will have all the dimensions for you, as I said, but I think this one is, yeah, this one is 3.5 by 2.5. So let me go ahead and just do a little cut for you here. 3.5 by 2.5. And let me just check it on my Yellow, yes, that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the white, which is another reason, by the way, you don't have to worry about all the white pieces because you're really not going to see the white around the flowers when you place it on a white piece. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit more of the glue to the back of the white piece and put that right on the yellow sheet, like so. Okay, now to make it even a little bit more special, I have some of our twine. And what I'm going to do is to wrap it around with twine. So I'm going to take off a bunch of twine. You want to make sure you have enough, but not so much that you waste it, of course, because supplies are precious. Alrighty, something I do that I don't see a lot of other people do that I think saves on your supplies is I start the twine in the front and then I go to the back. I want it to go around twice, but I don't want to waste, I don't want to have more twine than I need to have it look like twice. So if you start in the front, go around the back and come back to the front, you have twice. And you have not used twice as much of the twine. So I've saved some of the twine. And then what I'm going to do here is to create a little bit of a bow, just like this, just a regular bow, wherever you want it. Okay, beautiful. All right, so there we have our bow. Did that stick in? No, that side came out with my finger because remember I told you I got a little glue on it. So it stuck to my finger and came out. You can put the bow on the side. You can put it in the middle, wherever you want is fine. Let me get that off my finger. There we go, a beautiful bow with twine. You can use anything you want. You can use ribbon, you can use the white linen thread, you can use anything you want. And now what we're going to do is to go ahead and place it on the blue. And again, we're going to use the liquid glue. So let me go ahead and get this on here on the back. I always like to have some on the twine so that I know it sticks too. And go ahead and place it again slightly up, but not too far up, like that. Hold it down, and we're almost done. Not quite, but almost done. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is that we're going to create the sentiment again. So I have already done a whole bunch of I miss yous. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this and punch this one out. Yeah, punch this one out. I was thinking I'd already punched it out, but that one would be for later, for the third card. Okay, and then just punch out that I miss you. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put on the I miss you. But this time we're going to pop it up with some pop dots, with some Stampin' Dimensionals. What I'm going to do here is just put the Stampin' Dimensional on this side because this is already popped up some, and I want it to be, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to cut it. A mini Stampin' Dimensional, if you have those, would probably do better for something this size because this is such a small sentiment. But it just depends on what sentiment you use, of course. So let me go ahead and put that there. You just want to make sure you don't see it. And then I'm going to put a glue dot, a mini glue dot, on the other side, the one that is already up a little bit. And we're going to take this and stick it underneath the flowers where the string is. So it looks like it's all together there. And there you go. I did not take off that side of the Stampin' Dimensional. There we go. And so now you have this beautiful card that is a little bit more stepped up than the first card was. So I like to call this a sensational card. And again, this is just a little bit more than the first one was. So now what we're going to do is to do the third one. So to do the third one, I have already started it for you. Again, I don't want to repeat steps that you've already seen me do because we'll be here all day. So I've cut out the flowers. I've done the background here. I've put it all together. I put the twine on. You will see that this time I took the I miss you and I actually tied it into the twine as part of my stepping it up. So, but all I did is just thread it onto the twine before I made the bow, and then I put it all together there. So the last part that we have to do here is I want to make this flower feel a little bit more, the flower bouquet feel a little bit more lush. So what I did is I actually stamped, some more of these flowers, 2 more sets, and I colored them in. And then I cut them out, and I cut out all these little pieces that you see here. Let's see, there's some and there's some, and we're just going to make this a fuller flower bouquet using these. Now, when you do that, of course, you will end up with, I did 2 sets, so I ended up with 2 more of these yellow flowers. Don't throw them away. You can always use things like this on other projects. So we just cut around these flowers and cut the flowers, the ones that were on the top here, off. You can see that's where it was, and then I just cut all that off up to, and I'm going to save these for another project because I'm sure I will find some way to use them. So now what I'm going to do is take each of these and just stick on a little pop dot and figure out where I think they'll look good. So we have one of those there. We have another one of these yellow flowers. Let's put them, what do you think, here or here? I think probably here. And just sticking them underneath what we've already put on here, and underneath or on top of what you're doing at the same time. So we're going to take this blue one and stick that blue one. I think that actually, yeah, nope, it goes in this direction. There, then give it a place of honor. And we've got another blue one here. Oh, this blue one and this leaf I did not cut apart from each other. I left them together, thinking that that way it would be interesting over here. I think I'll put it right there. Don't think so. Well, let's do it like that and just pull the pink flower to the front. There we go. I'm trying to get this right behind there and then straighten this up a little bit. There we go. Now I left a little bit of a spot there open by mistake, but there are no mistakes in stamping. You can always cover it up. So I'm just going to take one of these little ones and just stick it right there, and that will cover up beautifully that little spot that didn't have much. And now I'm going to take this one and just place it on one. We're almost done with this. And I'm going to place this green one maybe over here near these yellow and blue. Just trying to mix up the colors and the shapes and the sizes and what types of flowers. And we have one more of these 2 leaves together. Put it on a pop dot. I'm sorry, on a glue dot, mini glue dot. And I'm going to place this one, I think, right, not there, right. Why don't we put it sort of on the bottom? So it's sort of in that direction. And did not get it in the right spot. I'm trying to see it from the wrong angle. Let's try this again. Pull that off. Because you can reposition these, because obviously you can pull them off. There we go. Ah, this one does not look like it's attached to anything. Let me get that one out of there. See if there's any glue dot. There is no glue dot on the bottom. That's why it fell off. It won't stay if it's not glued on, right? You need to have some kind of glue. And then we'll go ahead and put that one like there. Beautiful. Okay, there's one last step, maybe even 2 last steps. I may go a little crazy with this and do 2 last steps. So I always like to put a little bit of bling onto my cards that I've really stepped up and want to make really sensational. So I have here I think these are the holiday rhinestones. It's something like that. You can see any of these colors would work with this. They would all work beautifully. So I think, what are we going to use today? I've used blue, I've used purple, I've used pink on this. Let's use this one. Blue right there. And then another, I'm just using my take your pick tool to pull them off because it's a little bit easier, she says, as she struggles. Somehow it got stuck onto the paper. Okay, there we go. And now put this one here and maybe one more. I'm one of these people that like to go follow the rule that you want to do odds. I think that odds are more pleasing to the eye. There we go. Okay, and now just to go a little crazy, I haven't done this step before, but I think we might put a little crystal effects on. Now, if you know crystal effects, what they do is they sort of create a glossy cover on it. I don't know, a glossy look to the top of it. So I'm just gonna put that around like that. And there's also some glitter in it. So you will see some glitter as well. And it just takes a few minutes to dry. I'm going to do just even this one that is mostly covered just over here and a little bit down over here. There we go. You can see that it adds just that much more little bling to it. There you go. So there's our third one. That's just going to dry for a few minutes, but it's going to dry nice and shiny and bright and glittery, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So those are our 3 cards. I'm going to go back and show you them again. This is the first one. This is just with the I miss you and the flowers colored in and nothing else. This is the second step, which is where we went ahead and cut out the flowers for the first time, added some twine, and put the I miss you underneath the twine. And then, of course, we have the third one that we just finished that has extra flowers. See, I think if you look at this one, you don't miss the flowers. You don't think, oh, it needs more flowers. But if you look at this one, it's that much like, wow, there's so many flowers there. But they're all 3 are beautiful cards. And any of them you'd be happy to give. This one's special, this one is sensational, and this one is spectacular. And any of them you'd be happy to give to any of your friends or relatives. So I'm going to show you a couple other different things I've done with this set, just so you can see. And we do have one more class on this set as well. So if you like this set, come back to our class that's coming up at the end of the month so you can see what I'm going to do there when I'm going to actually use the jar. And we're going to create some really fun things. So this is a happy birthday card that I created, and it's very simple. As you can see, I stamped the little jar 3 times. I used the stripe to make it sort of on top of a shelf. I cut out the flowers. This is a different flower set. You can see if you look here, I'm going to show you the actual flower set. It is this one, but I thought it was a little bit too wide for this and a little bit too tall. So I cut out, you can see I cut out around here to make it the size that I thought fit into the little jar better. So you can do whatever you want with it. It's your project. And then I put a happy birthday here, and I was going to leave it like that with the little bling, of course. I was going to leave it like that, and I smudged right here. So this is a little secret in stamping. There is no mistakes. There is no such thing as a mistake. So what I did is I created another happy birthday, punched it out using our postage stamp punch, and then I just dragged the edges of it into a Daffodil Delight stamp ink pad and created this really interesting stitched look. So I really kind of liked that. I thought that was really fun. And then this last one I want to show you is using one of them, showing one of these cards using the jar. And again, this is the Crystal Effects that creates this sort of hard, shiny, glossy, and glittery bottom. And I just colored it in with the dark peacock. But you can use that little jar, as I told you, and stamp it here as well. And this one opens like this, you can see. And so it's got a little opening there. We may be doing something similar to this in our next class, but I just wanted to show you that. Before we get going, before we get ending for the day, I just wanted to tell you that the mini catalog is now live. It went live this week, and I'm really excited by it. It's a great catalog. There's a lot of really great holiday things in here. There's also autumn. There's also Halloween and Thanksgiving, Christmas. There's all sorts of things in here. We are going to be using some stamp set from here in October. We're going to be using it. So we're going to be using the In the Pines bundle, which is a great bundle. It comes with all of these stamps and these die cuts, and you can make some really beautiful cards. And along with that, we're going to be using the matching embossing folder, which actually they put on a different page. But I love this embossing folder right here. It's got the trees. You can see you can make this card with it and this card with it, with the embossing folder part of it. And it just makes absolutely beautiful scenes that you can use for all sorts of different things, not just for the holidays. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator yet, I would be more than happy to help you out. And if you need a mini catalog and don't have a demonstrator, or if you need the annual catalog, please give me a buzz. Just go ahead to stampinfunwithdonna.com and go on the contact me and let me know what you need, and I'd be more than happy to help you. So thank you very much for spending your time with me. I hope you come back in a couple weeks or next week, and we can see some other things. Thanks. Bye.